And there's a couple tricks that I've learned over the years that take a good cookie to a great cookie. Now, for this recipe, which is a fairly classic chocolate chip recipe, but yummier somehow, you start with nearly melted butter. So I left some of the butter to be whisked in like this. And what that allows it to do is to cool down the overall temperature of the butter. So the butter's not too warm or too thin, but you still have melted butter. That's all whisked together. We can add our brown sugar. And our white sugar. Combination of both makes for a yummy cookie. So we have that good mixed. We can add one of our eggs at a time. Okay, our other egg. Good and mixed in. There's some tiny little bits of brown sugar in there. Yep. Are we going for perfect or good enough? Depends on the day. I say good enough is good enough today. I'm gonna add our vanilla. This recipe calls for 2 teaspoons of vanilla. That is all a nice consistency. We are going to try not to send the whisk flying, but we make no promises. Switch over to a spatula. Work out a few more of those little brown sugar lumps. Or through the power of editing, maybe pretend we never had brown sugar lumps. But that's not really real life, and they're not going to make or break this cookie. So now we can add in our flour and our kosher salt and baking powder. Just kind of mix those together on top and then start working it through. I'd say there's a few tricks. I'm pretty sure most of these tricks can just be applied to whatever your favorite. A full 2 cups of semi-sweet chocolate chips. Yum. Now, there's 2 schools of thought on this. A lot of people believe that letting the batter rest and chill in the fridge for an hour to even a couple days develops flavors. I just like having my cookies when I want to have cookies. So sometimes I do leave some in the fridge to have fresh cookies the next day. But for the most part, I just let it rest for about the 10 minutes or so while the oven heats up. It makes a difference the size of cookies you make. Making really big cookies give you a phenomenal center, a little bit of crunch around the outside, and those kind of depressions or rings around the cookie a lot easier. I like to use an ice cream scoop. You're going for about a 1/4 cup of dough. So it seems like a lot, and you can only fit about 6 or so on a pan. And make these rather ginormous cookies where you don't have to eat the entire cookie in one sitting. You can just break it apart. It just makes for a better consistency, but also you should see how happy people get when you hand them a giant cookie. Texture wise, it's just a different texture in a better way than using the same recipe but making a smaller cookie. Sprinkle them liberally not excessively, but liberally. So either flaked or coarse, so you get a bit of that crunch on top. Take them out of the oven when they don't quite look done in the center yet, because that is where it's going to continue to cook a little bit on the tray. And they will sink down and give you that wonderful chewy middle. So these are out of the oven now. Just taking them out and they're going to start cooling. You can already see they're starting to get those beautiful ridges around them. So you can also tell that they look a little underdone in the center, but good and brown on the outside. So give these a few minutes, at least 5 minutes to cool on the tray. And generally speaking, I just let them completely cool in the tray or eat them from there.